A promise in cement and sweat. Caroline stood frozen, the block still balanced on her head, her heart pounding louder than the construction noise around them. Vincent's words echoed in her mind, drop that block and come with me. She blinked, unsure if she had heard him right. Her chest tightened. She looked down, then slowly lowered the block to the ground. Her hands trembled. Sir, why me? She asked, barely above a whisper. Vincent took a slow step closer, his eyes gentle but serious. Because you reminded me that integrity still exists. And because no one that kind should be carrying blocks under the sun. Without another word, he reached out and took her dusty hand. Let's go, he said softly. A new chapter begins in his car. The silence between them wasn't awkward, it was heavy with unspoken thoughts. Caroline sat quietly, still wearing her torn work clothes. She couldn't look at him. She kept her eyes on her hands. Vincent glanced at her. Do you remember giving my wallet to the cashier that day? She nodded slowly. I do. Why didn't you leave your number? Caroline looked out the window. A tear rolled down her cheek. Because I didn't think people like you would ever look for someone like me. Vincent's grip tightened on the steering wheel. That single sentence hit him harder than any boardroom battle ever had. Home, but not the same. When they reached Vincent's house, he told her gently, you'll stay here for a while. Until I figure out what's next. There's food. Clothes. Anything you need. She shook her head quickly. Sir, I'm not used to. He cut her off. Caroline, this is not pity. This is honor. You deserve rest. He left her in the guest room, clean sheets, warm light, and the smell of real food waiting downstairs. She sat on the bed, her calloused hands resting on her knees. For the first time in years, she felt safe. But also, confused. Meanwhile, the house for mommy construction continued on the house Vincent had promised the old woman. Every time the engineer sent pictures, Vincent made corrections. Add a garden in the front, he said one day. Install solar panels. Make sure she never lacks power. Put a swing in the backyard, he added another day. She may be old, but she still deserves joy. An unexpected visit. 1 week later, Caroline stood by the kitchen window, helping Vincent's chef wash tomatoes. Vincent walked in, holding a small envelope. Caroline, can I show you something? She followed him to the sitting room. He handed her the envelope. Inside were documents. A scholarship. What's this? She asked. An offer. I want to sponsor your education. Construction isn't your destiny. I see so much more in you. Caroline shook her head. But I didn't even finish secondary school properly. Then start from where you stopped, he said. I'll get you tutors. Anything you need. You once whispered, one day, things will change. That day is now. She covered her mouth, tears flowing freely now. Why are you doing all this? For me? Vincent smiled. Because I believe the most valuable people in the world aren't always dressed in gold. Some are covered in dust. A whisper of love. As weeks passed, Caroline began to bloom. Her skin glowed. Her eyes softened. She started smiling again. Vincent found himself looking at her longer. He laughed more around her. He started walking slower just so she could catch up. One quiet evening, they sat in the backyard, watching the sunset. Caroline turned to him. I still don't understand how we met like this. Vincent chuckled. Some call it fate. I call it answered prayer. There was silence. Then Vincent leaned slightly forward. Caroline, may I ask you something real? She looked at him, heart racing. Of course. Do you believe love can rise from brokenness? She smiled, her eyes glistening. Yes. If it's built on truth, and not just money. He reached for her hand. Then maybe, we're already building something. Love finds a home. The following morning, Caroline woke up earlier than usual. She stepped outside, barefoot, the cool tiles under her feet grounding her. The air was calm, and the birds chirped softly. She wrapped a shawl around her shoulders and sat quietly on the porch. She was thinking of her past, her present, and now this strange new future that felt both terrifying and beautiful. Then she heard footsteps. It was Vincent. You're up early, he said gently. Caroline turned and smiled faintly. I couldn't sleep. My mind is full. He sat beside her, careful to give her space. Are you afraid? He asked. She nodded slowly. Yes. I've lived too long in survival mode. This peace feels unreal. Vincent turned to her, his voice calm. Sometimes, peace feels foreign when you've only known storms. But you're safe now. This is real. Caroline's eyes met his, searching for something unspoken. Why me, Vincent? She asked again. He took a breath, then answered, because even when the world gave you nothing, you still chose honesty. That's the kind of woman I want beside me. Meanwhile, far across town, the 4-bedroom house was complete. The paint was fresh. The curtains were up. A little garden with orange hibiscus danced in the wind. The small golden plaque by the door read, a house built with love, for the woman who once carried us all. Vincent stood at the gate with the old woman, his childhood nanny. Close your eyes, he said. She obeyed. He led her gently toward the door. Then he stopped, opened them. She gasped, staggering slightly. Whose house is this? She asked, trembling. Vincent smiled warmly. Yours. The woman covered her mouth, tears spilling over. Me? Live in a house like this? No, no, no. This is too much. He held her hands. You gave my parents peace. You gave me love when they were too busy. Now let me give you rest. She sobbed as he opened the door. The smell of new wood and fresh paint filled the air. God bless you, my son. May your days be long. A quiet confession that night, back at home, Vincent and Caroline were in the study. She was reading over some school prep material he'd given her earlier that week. Vincent watched her for a moment. Then he spoke. Caroline, I need to say something, and I don't want to wait any longer. She looked up, her heart skipping. What is it? He stood, walked to the bookshelf, then turned back to her. The first day I saw you, I was impressed by your kindness. But the more I've known you, the more I realize, you've changed me. Caroline blinked. He stepped closer. I've built companies, given speeches, traveled the world. But no moment has been as meaningful as the day you returned my wallet. He reached into his pocket and brought out a small box. Her breath caught. Vincent, he didn't kneel. Not yet. He wasn't rushing. He simply opened the box to reveal a delicate necklace, no diamond, no gold. Just a simple heart-shaped pendant carved from wood, not a ring. Not yet. Just a promise. That I'll walk this journey with you, at your pace, for as long as you'll let me. Caroline stared at the pendant, then at Vincent. Slowly, she nodded. I may not know what tomorrow holds, but right now, I trust you. He stepped forward and gently clasped the necklace around her neck. The closing scene. Weeks later, Caroline began attending evening classes. Vincent often picked her up afterward. They would eat together, laugh together. Sometimes talk about the future. Sometimes say nothing and just sit under the stars. The old woman thrived in her new home, even planting a small vegetable garden in the backyard. Neighbors began to stop by, amazed at her story, inspired by her faith. Vincent continued his business, but now, he was more than just a successful man. He was a man fulfilled. As for Caroline, the girl who once returned a wallet, who once lost a phone, who once whispered, God, you are faithful, on a dirty floor, she had now found not just love, but dignity, family, and purpose. The soft clink of cutlery filled the dining room as Vincent and Caroline sat across from each other over breakfast. She had just finished her first week of evening classes and was glowing with a sense of pride. Vincent watched her with quiet joy. You're doing so well, he said, sipping his tea. I'm trying. Caroline smiled. It's not easy getting back into books after all these years. Vincent nodded, then hesitated. There's something we need to talk about. Caroline looked up, her smile fading slightly. What is it? He leaned forward. My parents are coming back from the US next month. And I want them to meet you. Caroline froze. Her fingers tightened slightly on her cup. Are they, like you? Vincent gave a quiet laugh. No. Not at all. They're old school. Very traditional. And very judgmental. They think I should marry someone with a pedigree. Caroline's face fell. Then they won't like me. Vincent's eyes darkened with resolve. They don't get to choose. I do. And I choose you. A mother's warning. The following week, Vincent's parents arrived in Lagos. They were received with fanfare, drivers, assistants, and private security at the airport. At home, his mother, tall, regal, and polished, adjusted her pearl necklace as she sat on the couch. So, she said, crossing her legs. Who is this? Caroline? Vincent stood calmly. She's the woman I love. His father scoffed softly. Isn't she the one from the market? The one who returned your wallet? Yes, Vincent replied. That's her. His mother narrowed her eyes. Son, women like that don't love men like you. They love your money. And your attention. Nothing more. Vincent's jaw tightened. She had my wallet, full of dollars, and returned it without touching a thing. If she wanted money, she could have taken it and disappeared. But she didn't. She earned my trust and my heart. His mother sighed deeply. Trust is earned, yes. But marriage is more than love. It's legacy. It's background. It's family name. Vincent stood. Then maybe it's time we define legacy differently. The unexpected visit. 2 days later, Caroline was at the small community library, reading for an upcoming class test. A shadow fell across her table. She looked up and froze. It was Vincent's mother, dressed in white linen and gold jewelry. She stood tall and intimidating. May I sit? She asked coolly. Caroline nodded. Yes, Ma. Vincent's mother placed her designer handbag on the table and leaned in. You seem like a polite girl. And I'm sure you're very grateful for my son's kindness. Caroline remained silent, unsure where this was going. But let me give you a word of advice, she continued. A woman who truly loves a man doesn't destroy his future. She protects it. Even if that means walking away. Caroline blinked, the words hitting her like cold water. I'm not trying to destroy anything, Ma. The older woman smiled slightly, but it didn't reach her eyes. Then don't let this go any further. Take the gift he gave you, the help, the shelter, and quietly step away. That would be the noble thing to do. Then she stood, adjusted her handbag, and walked out. Caroline sat frozen, her heart pounding. The choice that night, Caroline didn't come down for dinner. Vincent climbed the stairs and found her sitting on the bed, her eyes swollen. What happened? He asked. Sitting beside her, she hesitated, then finally said, Your mother came to see me. Vincent's body stiffened. What did she say? Caroline looked down at her hands. That if I really loved you, I'd let you go. There was silence for a long time. Then Vincent stood and paced the room. This is what I was afraid of, he muttered. But I won't let them take you from me. Caroline's voice was barely above a whisper. What if I ruin everything for you? Vincent walked over, knelt in front of her, and held her hands. Listen to me. I've had wealth. I've had fame. But I've never had peace, not until you. You didn't ruin my life. You gave it meaning. Caroline's eyes filled again. She didn't respond, but she didn't pull her hands away either. The turning point the next weekend, Vincent organized a small dinner, just his parents, the old nanny, and Caroline. He stood at the head of the table. Tonight isn't just about food, he said. It's about truth. He gestured to Caroline. This woman returned a wallet worth more than what most people make in a year. And then I found her carrying concrete blocks in the sun. Not once did she ask me for help. She earned it. Then he turned to his mother. And this woman, he pointed at the old nanny, once rocked me to sleep when you were too busy traveling. She fed me when the chef forgot. She raised me when you couldn't. Silence. Then he concluded, I won't reject the people who showed me the purest kind of love, just because of class or titles. His mother looked away, lips tight, but his father, unexpectedly, spoke. He's right. Everyone turned. What? Vincent's mother asked sharply. The man exhaled. He's found something rare. We spent our lives chasing status, and what did that give us? Cold walls and fake friends. If this girl makes him better, then I say let him love her. Vincent's eyes softened. Caroline looked shocked, and slowly, his mother lowered her head, not quite in agreement, but no longer in resistance. Closing scene that night, under the moonlit sky, Caroline and Vincent walked hand in hand in the garden. She stopped suddenly and looked at him. Thank you. He smiled. For what? For fighting for me. For seeing me. He reached into his pocket. This time, it wasn't a necklace. It was a ring. Simple. Elegant. Quietly beautiful. Will you walk this life with me, Caroline? Through storms, through sunshine, for real this time. She nodded, tears slipping down her cheeks. Yes, Vincent. I will. The weight of new beginnings. The news of their engagement spread quietly at first, only among close friends and a few trusted staff. But in the high circles of Lagos society, whispers travel fast. Some were surprised. Others, outraged. Vincent, the brilliant entrepreneur from a wealthy lineage, was marrying a girl who once slept in a shop, but he didn't care. Caroline, however, felt every whisper, even the silent ones. The engagement photoshoot was a breezy Sunday evening. The golden hour light bathed the garden as Vincent and Caroline stood beneath blooming jacaranda trees. A professional photographer directed them gently. Look into each other's eyes. Perfect. Hold hands, now smile. Caroline tried to relax, but her nerves were electric. After the shoot, Vincent pulled her aside. You're too quiet. Tell me what's wrong. She hesitated, then whispered, I don't belong in this world, Vincent. Look at me, I still feel like the girl who carried cement on her head. He took her hands, looked her squarely in the eyes, and that's the girl I fell in love with. Not in spite of that, Caroline, because of it. She breathed slowly, nodding. Okay. I'll try. I'll keep learning. Enter Zainab, the rival. Meanwhile, in the polished corridors of a family business conference, an old name resurfaced. Zainab Williams, daughter of a powerful oil magnate. Brilliant, fierce, beautiful, and once, very close to Vincent. She had just returned from London. And when she heard Vincent was engaged, she laughed. To a who, she scoffed. Let's see how long that lasts. Zainab didn't believe in fairy tales, especially not ones involving poor girls and powerful men, and she had planned a shaky first dinner with society the next weekend. Vincent took Caroline to a charity gala, his first public appearance. With her since their engagement, she wore a simple but elegant gown. Her hair was pulled back. She looked beautiful, but unsure. People watched, some smiled politely. Others whispered, and then came Zainab, dressed in emerald green. She walked up to their table and leaned in. Vincent. So good to see you. He stood politely. Zainab. It's been a while. She turned to Caroline with a perfect smile. And you must be the lucky girl. Vincent always did have a thing for soft-hearted women. Caroline forced a smile. Nice to meet you. Zainab smirked slightly, then whispered, "Let me know if you ever need help adjusting. This world can eat you alive." Then she walked away. Her perfume lingering, Caroline felt the chill even after she was gone. Later that night back at home, Vincent found Caroline in the kitchen, holding a cup of tea, untouched. "She made you uncomfortable," he said. Caroline nodded. "I don't need to compete, Vincent. If she's what you want, just tell me." He walked over, took the cup gently from her hand, and set it aside. "Caroline. If I wanted her, I wouldn't be building a life with you. Let them talk. Let them judge. I didn't choose you to please the world. I chose you to build one worth living in." Her eyes filled. "I'm trying to be strong." He smiled. "You already are." Closing scene that night, alone in her room, Caroline opened a small journal. She wrote, "Today I stood in a room filled with wealth, beauty, and power, and I didn't break. I may not know where I'll end up in this journey, but I know one thing: I'm not who I used to be. And I'm not going back." She closed the book and looked out the window, the city lights twinkling in the distance. A long road ahead. But she was walking it with courage. A hidden threat. The morning after the gala, Caroline sat on the balcony sipping tea. The sky was gray. Her heart was heavier than she admitted. Meanwhile, across town, Zainab sat in her luxury apartment, scrolling through photos from the gala. One image made her stop. Vincent and Caroline, holding hands. Her smile disappeared. She picked up her phone and made a call. "Get me everything you can find on her, Caroline. Background, past, anything. I want to know who she really is." The voice on the other end responded, "Understood. I'll have something in 48 hours. Zainab leaned back and smiled again, this time colder. "Let's see how long this fairy tale lasts." Vincent's worry. Vincent had started noticing Caroline's quietness. She wasn't the same girl who once spoke with joy after getting a small envelope of rice and groceries. Now, she was cautious, almost guarded. That afternoon, he walked into her reading room and said gently, "Tell me what's on your mind." She looked up, unsure how much to reveal. I feel like a guest in a world I didn't grow up in. Every time someone looks at me, I wonder what they're thinking. Or what they're saying when I walk away." Vincent came closer. "And yet, you've handled it with so much grace. You're not a guest, Caroline. You're the woman I'm going to marry." Her eyes softened, but doubt lingered. "Then promise me something. Anything. If the world turns against me, you won't." He held her hand firmly. "I promise." The investigation begins. 2 days later, Zainab's hired investigator returned with a folder. Inside were photos, documents, and scribbled notes. School records. Old landlord statements. Even a blurry photo of Caroline carrying blocks at the construction site. Zainab flipped through it all with glee. But then something caught her eye. A page titled, "Siblings, Unknown, Orphan Status." Suggested. No close known family. She raised an eyebrow. No family, no background to defend her. Interesting. She picked up her phone again. "Send this to the press. Let's see what they do with it." The headlines break that weekend. News blogs and gossip sites exploded with headlines. "Vincent engaged to construction worker?" From blocks to the ballroom. "Who is Caroline?" No family. No history. Just a pretty face? Pictures from the construction site were everywhere. Comment sections were brutal. Social media was worse. Caroline saw the articles when she opened her phone Monday morning. Her hands trembled. She shut the screen and sat on the floor, speechless. Vincent arrived moments later. He had seen it too. He stormed into the room. "I know who's behind this." She looked up, her voice small. "They're tearing me apart, Vincent. And I haven't even done anything wrong." He knelt beside her, placing his hands gently on her shoulders. "You don't have to explain yourself to the world. You're mine. And I'm not letting anyone write your story but us." Behind the scenes, Zainab smiled as she read the comments online. But her victory was short-lived, because what she didn't know was that Vincent's legal team had just launched a silent counterstrike, not on her name, but on the media outlets that published the invasion of privacy. One by one, stories started disappearing. Vincent wasn't just rich, he was strategic. Quiet. Calculated. Closing scene that night, as they sat on the rooftop terrace, Caroline looked out at the city skyline. The lights flickered below. "Do you think this will stop?" she asked. Vincent replied calmly, "No. Not yet. But I'll stand in front of every bullet they throw. And when the dust settles, they'll realize something." She turned to him. "What?" "That you were never weak. You were just unshakable in silence." She smiled for the first time that day, and somewhere, deep inside her, something stronger than fear began to grow. A knock at the gate. 3 days after the media storm, things had begun to quiet down. Caroline was slowly adjusting again, but a part of her remained alert, as if she knew something else was coming. That morning, while Vincent was out on a brief business trip, Caroline was in the kitchen with one of the staff when the security guard called her phone. "Ma, there's a man at the gate." He says he knows you. Should we send him away? Caroline's brow furrowed. Did he say his name? Yes, Ma. He says his name is Joshua. The moment she heard the name, her blood froze. The forgotten brother. Caroline hadn't heard that name in almost 10 years. Joshua, her half-brother. The one who left when she was 16 and never came back. The one who stole her late mother's savings and disappeared. She stood still for a moment, then said softly, "Let him in. Let me see his face." The gates opened slowly, and a tall, rugged man in dusty jeans and a leather jacket walked into. Caroline stood at the edge of the hallway, her arms folded, watching him approach. She didn't speak first. Joshua looked at her with a crooked smile. "So, it's true. You really upgraded. What do you want?" she asked coldly. "Is that how you greet your blood? You stopped being my blood the day you disappeared with everything we had." Joshua's face darkened. "Listen, I'm not here to argue. I just need help. Alone. Something small." Caroline stepped back. "After all these years? Why now?" "Because I'm in trouble. Some people are after me. I saw your face on TV, and figured it's time for family to reunite." Caroline didn't need to ask more. His eyes said it all, desperation, not love. Vincent returns later that night. Vincent returned to the house. Caroline told him everything, her brother, the past, the theft, the visit. Vincent listened, his jaw tight. "He's trouble." "I know," Caroline replied. "But he's still my mother's son." Vincent leaned forward, thoughtful. "Let me speak to him. Man to man." A dangerous deal. The next morning, Vincent met Joshua at a quiet cafe, with one of his lawyers seated nearby. "You want help?" Vincent said. "Then understand this, I'm not giving you cash. If you truly want to change, I'll offer you a job at one of my smaller farms outside Lagos. You'll get paid fairly, but if you mess up, it ends there." Joshua scoffed. "Farm work? Do I look like?" "Yes. Right now, you look like someone who has no other option." Joshua paused, then reluctantly nodded. "Fine. I'll do it." But as Vincent left the cafe, something in his gut still didn't feel right. Caroline's inner war. Back at home, Caroline stood alone in the backyard garden, wrestling with her thoughts. Why now? Why after all this time? She remembered nights as a child when she cried, waiting for her brother to return. She remembered her mother whispering forgiveness through tears. "If he ever comes back, don't hate him," her mother had once said. "But don't trust him easily either." Caroline wiped a tear from her cheek. "Mama, I hope I'm doing the right thing." Closing scene. That night, far away from the mansion, Joshua stood beside a payphone outside a rundown hotel. He inserted a coin and dialed a number. A voice picked up. "Did she fall for it?" Joshua replied, "Yes. I'm in. Step 1 complete." He looked up at the sky and smirked. "Tell Zainab, the cracks are starting to show." Whispers in the shadows. In the days that followed, Joshua started working at the farm Vincent assigned him to. On the surface, everything seemed normal. He followed instructions, kept his head down, and didn't complain. The workers began to warm up to him, but behind closed doors, he was sending messages. Late at night, he sat behind a storage shed, using an old burner phone. "She trusts me now," he whispered into the receiver. "And Vincent? He thinks I've changed." On the other end, Zainab's voice was cold and clear. "Good. Stay quiet, watch his movements, and when the time is right, we'll strike." Back at the mansion, Caroline was spending more time with Vincent's mother, who now referred to her as "my daughter." Their bond had grown stronger. The old woman had started gardening again and seemed to have found peace in Caroline's presence. One afternoon, while they sat in the garden, Vincent approached with a quiet smile. "I have news," he said. "The house is finally ready." Caroline looked up. "You mean for Mama?" Vincent nodded. "Yes. But I want you to come with me. There's something else I want to show you." The surprise. They drove together, and when they arrived at the newly built house, Caroline's eyes widened. The house was simple, but beautiful. A soft cream color, wide verandas, and large trees surrounding it, but that wasn't the surprise. Vincent handed her a set of keys. "This isn't just for Mama," he said. "It's for you too." "Me?" Caroline's voice trembled. Vincent took a deep breath. "You've carried pain, shame, and sacrifice for too long. It's time someone gave back to you. You don't owe me this," she whispered. "Maybe not. But I want to." He looked into her eyes. "And more than anything, I want you to feel safe with me." Tears quietly fell from Caroline's cheeks as she held the keys to her first real home. A new threat. But miles away, Zainab was already preparing her next move. She stood in her luxury apartment, maps and documents spread across a table. Joshua's latest update had given her exactly what she needed. "Vincent has a private project site in Ibadan," he had said. "High security, big investment. If anything were to delay that project, Zainab smiled darkly. Then his investors would panic. And his board would lose faith. She turned to the man standing beside her, a tech specialist she had hired. I want eyes inside that project. Hack their email system. Feed false reports. Make it look like Vincent's mismanaging funds. The man nodded. Zainab stared at a photo of Vincent and Caroline on her screen. Let's see how much love survives when the foundation starts shaking. Final scene, the warning that night, Vincent received an anonymous email, subject line, she's not who you think she is. He opened it slowly. It was a photo of Caroline, with Joshua. But it had been cropped and edited to make it seem like a secret meeting. Attached was a note, ask her what she's really hiding. Vincent stared at the screen, his mind racing. What is this? Who sent it? Why now? He closed the laptop, but he couldn't close the doubt forming in his heart. The silence between them. The next morning, Vincent sat quietly at the dining table, his breakfast untouched. Caroline came in wearing a soft blue gown Mama had given her. She noticed his stillness. Vincent, she asked gently. Is everything okay? He looked up slowly. Yeah, just a rough night. But his eyes betrayed him, distant, guarded. Caroline noticed, but said nothing. She sat across from him and began to pour tea. The house is beautiful, she said. I didn't sleep a wink. I kept walking around, wondering if it's real. Vincent forced a smile, but inside, his mind kept replaying the photo. Joshua and Caroline? Together? Why hadn't she mentioned that, Mama? Notices later that day, Mama watched Vincent from the garden. He was pacing by himself, distracted. She called him over. Vincent, come sit beside me. He sat. What's troubling you, my son? He hesitated, then handed her his phone. The email was still open. Mama stared at the photo, her expression unreadable. Do you believe this? She asked quietly. I don't know. Why didn't she tell me she knew Joshua? Mama looked at him. You've been around pain so long, you expect betrayal. But don't let your fear speak louder than the truth. She handed back the phone. Talk to her. With your heart. Not your suspicion. The confrontation that night, Vincent finally approached Caroline in the backyard. Can I ask you something? Of course, she replied. Did you know Joshua before you met me again? Caroline froze. Yes, but I didn't think it mattered anymore. Why didn't you tell me? She hesitated, then said softly, because I was ashamed. He used to be my neighbor. He helped me a few times. But then he changed. Got into bad things. He asked me for help. When I refused, he got angry. I cut him off. So when you saw him at the site? I was shocked. But I thought, if he's working now, maybe he's changed. I didn't want to bring drama into our lives. I just wanted peace. Vincent's breath slowed. The words made sense. But doubt still lingered like smoke. Zainab's trap tightens elsewhere. Zainab's plan was unfolding. Fake reports began circulating online. Vincent Okafor accused of diverting project funds. Anonymous whistleblower leaks financial documents. His company's board grew uneasy. Investors called nonstop. The pressure mounted, and then came the worst blow, a scheduled audit. Suddenly, Vincent had 48 hours to prove his innocence. Joshua, meanwhile, was still feeding information. He's falling, just like you said, he told Zainab. Good. Make sure he doesn't get back up, she replied, the turning point. But that same night, Vincent received a call from someone unexpected, Detective Eleni, a retired officer who once worked with his late father. Vincent, I've been following the noise online. Those reports about your project? They're fabricated. Professionally edited. Someone's targeting you. Do you know who? Not yet. But I'll find out. Vincent closed his eyes. For the first time in days, he knew he wasn't crazy, someone was behind this. And now, he was going to find out who. A new ally. Vincent met Detective Eleni at a quiet cafe on the outskirts of town. The old man still had sharp eyes and a firm handshake. My father always trusted you, Vincent said. And I intend to earn your trust too, Eleni replied. I've reviewed the documents sent to the press. They're fake, no doubt. But whoever did this is very careful. Smart. Professional. Vincent nodded slowly. I have a name. Zainab. Eleni raised a brow. Zainab Afalabi? Yes. We had a past. She's still angry. Eleni tapped his fingers on the table. She's not working alone. You're right. A man named Joshua is helping her. I think he's after Caroline too. Then we'll need a plan. A quiet one. And time. Meanwhile, at home Caroline sat in the garden, speaking with Mama. He's changed, Caroline said, voice soft. Since that email, he looks at me differently. Mama touched her hand gently. Men carry their battles in silence. But he needs your voice now, more than ever. Caroline nodded, her eyes distant. I'll stand with him. Even if he doesn't ask me to. Zainab's misstep back in her sleek apartment. Zainab smiled as she read the panic online. Anonymous tweets. Blog posts. Forum threads. All attacking Vincent's name. By the time they clear his name, she said to herself, his empire will be ash. But she didn't realize one key thing. Eleni had traced the IP address of one post back to a burner laptop in her condo. It was enough to get a warrant. She was careless. And that crack? Was all the detective needed. Joshua's conflict. Joshua, meanwhile, was beginning to spiral. He sat at a bar late that night, sipping a warm drink, scrolling through Caroline's old photos on his phone. His voice slurred as he mumbled, "You never looked at me the way you look at him." His friend nudged him. "You sure you're okay with what Zainab's doing? This is getting deep. I just wanted her to notice me. I didn't sign up for all this chaos." But it was too late. The engine was running, and the brakes were gone. Vincent's revelation that night. Vincent returned home. Caroline met him at the door. There was a heaviness in the air, but she held his hand anyway. "Vincent, whatever you're facing, you don't have to face it alone." He looked into her eyes, deeply. "Someone's trying to destroy me," he said. "And they're using people I once trusted." "Then let's fight back," she whispered. "Together." For the first time in days, Vincent allowed himself to believe, in love, in loyalty, and in the power of truth. Eleni's trap detective. Eleni worked through the night. The trace from Zainab's burner laptop had been enough to get digital forensics involved. What they found was unexpected. A hidden folder labeled Amara. Eleni opened it carefully. Inside were dozens of files, emails, photos, and financial transactions. But one document caught his attention, a fake contract with Vincent's forged signature. It tied him to a land deal in Ile-Lorraine, one that had collapsed and left dozens homeless. "So that's their angle," Eleni muttered. "They're painting him as a fraud and a thief." He forwarded the documents to Vincent with one line, "Meet me. Sunrise. Don't come alone." Caroline's discovery. Caroline walked into Vincent's study to leave his tea but paused when she saw a leather-bound journal on the desk. It had his initials on the front. She wasn't one to snoop. But something drew her. She opened the first page. Inside was a photograph, faded but clear. Vincent and a woman. The woman looked exactly like her. Her heart pounded. "Who is she?" Caroline whispered. On the next page, in Vincent's handwriting, "If she ever finds out, I hope she forgives me." Before she could read further, Vincent entered the room. "Caroline?" She turned sharply. "Who is the woman in this photo?" Vincent's face paled. The confession. Vincent sat down slowly, eyes fixed on the floor. "Her name was Amara," he began. "She was my first love. We met long before I became who I am today." Caroline stayed silent. "We were young. I was reckless. I left to chase my dreams abroad. I came back, and she was gone. Her family said she moved away. I never saw her again." "You loved her?" Caroline asked. "Yes. But," he paused, "what's strange is how much you look like her. It's why I was so drawn to you when we met. It scared me." Caroline looked at the photo again, her hands trembling. "Vincent, my mother's name was Amara." Vincent froze. "What?" "She died when I was 12. The room went silent. For a full minute, all Vincent could do was stare. "Caroline," he whispered, "are you telling me you're Amara's daughter?" "Yes," she said. "And I think you might be my father." Zainab's fury. Back at her apartment, Zainab received a message on her phone. It was a security alert, system breach. Unknown access to Amara folder. She screamed, throwing the phone across the room. "They found it. No, no, no." She dialed a number. "Joshua. We're exposed. We need to disappear, tonight." "Wait, what?" "The files. They're in Vincent's hands. It's over. Unless we stop him before he speaks." Joshua hesitated. "You said this would ruin him quietly." "Plans change," Zainab hissed. "And I don't care what happens anymore. He's not walking free from this." The blood test. The room felt like it had stopped breathing. Vincent sat down, his hands shaking slightly. Caroline stood still, her eyes not leaving his face. "You're my daughter?" Caroline nodded slowly, emotion rising in her throat. "I never knew," Vincent whispered. "If I had known Amara had a child, she never told you?" "No," he said. "She vanished. Her family moved. I looked. I swear I did." Caroline reached into her pocket and pulled out a photo. The only photo she had of her mother and herself as a child. She placed it in front of him. Vincent stared at it in silence. Then, tears. "She kept this. I need to know the truth," Caroline said gently. "Can we do a DNA test?" "Yes," Vincent said firmly. "Let's settle it once and for all." Zainab's deadline. Zainab slammed the car door. Joshua was already in the driver's seat. We go in. We get the backup flash drive. We destroy it. What if the police are watching him? They're not. Not yet. But after tonight, they won't have anything left to investigate. Joshua didn't reply. He was starting to wonder who the real villain was. Zainab checked her watch. 3 hours. That's all we have before Eleni releases the files to the press. The test results 2 days later. The hospital called. Vincent and Caroline sat side by side in the waiting room, silent, anxious. A nurse walked up to them with an envelope. The results are inside, she said, and left. Vincent looked at Caroline. You open it. With trembling fingers, Caroline tore open the envelope, unfolded the paper, and scanned it. She gasped. It's true. What? You're my father, she said softly, holding the paper out. Vincent covered his face, overwhelmed. I have a daughter, and I have a father, Caroline said through tears. They embraced, long, quiet, full of emotion, but their moment of peace wouldn't last. The hit that evening, Vincent's housekeeper screamed. Sir, your office has been broken into. Vincent and Caroline rushed down. His desk had been smashed. His drawers torn open. They were looking for something, he muttered. The flash drive. Caroline cried. Gone. Vincent immediately called Eleni. They have it. Zainab and her people, they were here. Eleni's voice dropped. We were watching the wrong location. I'm rerouting my team. You need to leave your house, now. Where should we go? Somewhere they won't expect. A safe place. That night, Vincent and Caroline stayed in a private guest house owned by one of his oldest friends. It was quiet, hidden behind a church compound. There, they sat and talked, not as strangers anymore, but as family. Tell me about her, Vincent asked. Your mother. She was gentle, Caroline smiled. Strong. She worked so hard. She told me one thing over and over again, never take what doesn't belong to you. Vincent nodded. She raised you well. She'd be proud of you. I hope so, Caroline whispered. To be continued. In part 3, Zainab's plan unravels, Eleni closes in, and a hidden recording may be the final piece of the puzzle. Say, part 3. To continue. If you enjoyed this tale, don't forget to like, subscribe to Daily African Tales, and share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice keeps our stories alive. Special thanks to Mr. Mosen for being part of this storytelling journey.